Renée, one of the many ways in which you as creative consultant have made a big impact on everyone's life at Lyric is with the idea of introducing great classics of American musical theatre to the repertory of an opera company. Do you believe in that?
Well, I thought to myself that we only experience these pieces when someone produces it on Broadway and it ends up touring. And there could be many, many years between when someone has had the chance to see live a piece like Oklahoma. So why not have a great opera company present a piece like this so that children and their parents and their grandparents can all experience it live? And I do believe that this repertoire has earned the classical label, because classical simply means it stood the test of time. And this is particularly American repertoire as well. It enables us to present something that's homegrown and that's been around for long enough to interest many generations.
And you and I have discussed this many times, but I think neither of us would say that opera companies should do musicals as a bold statement. We need to be careful with the musicals we select.
Right.
In that some musicals really benefit from the resources of an opera company, others probably don't.
Right, right.
Oklahoma is one of the great ones that truly benefits from the resources.
Well, music theater's evolved so much since then, and now many of the newer works really are closely aligned with rock and pop music. But at this time and in this period, it's much more closely aligned with what we do well. And also to have a full orchestra, a full chorus, the production values, but particularly the musical values. I think that's what will make this special.
That's right. I mean, we are trying to reproduce it as it would have been heard in 1943 with those musical resources and an orchestra that, you know, it hasn't been sort of orchestrated down to take it on the road, you know. I mean, I think that's going to be very important. I first came across Rodgers and Hammerstein's music when I was roped in at the age of 15 to play with a rather ancient Italian violinist and cellist in the local theatre. We played music between the entr'actes. I did this for about 6 weeks. And that's where I fell in love with Rodgers and Hammerstein music. And I remember playing the Surrey with the fringe on top and thinking, oh, wow, this is wonderful. You must have known.
Oh, I grew up on this piece. I grew up on all of these musicals, and these are the great classical American musicals. And what's interesting about this piece too is that it's got these tragic elements as well, but the tunes.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what it is, and it's sort of, you can kind of talk about Puccini in the same way, but it's just a direct line to the heart.
Yes.
And the moods, they push all the buttons.
Have you performed it?
No. My big role was Eliza Doolittle.
I have to say, I went to see Oklahoma in New York sometime in probably the early 80s, and it was conducted by a man called Jay Blackton, who had conducted the premiere, and he was getting on at that point, and he was loving every note. And I thought, that's an object lesson to every conductor. He must have conducted it thousands of times, and he was conducting it, so it was the first time. But I don't know what else you can do with that music. It's so infectious, it's so...
Yeah, it is infectious.
And it touches the heart, as you say, in a very direct way. Another thing that I find so extraordinary about Rodgers and Hammerstein's great work is the relationship between spoken words and sung words. That there is an apparent seamlessness
it's true.
in which speaking turns into singing.
Yes.
And singing at the moment someone starts singing seems the only possible way of expressing that thought.
The suspension of disbelief is immediate, and we think we're in that time and place. And the romance of it, and Gordon McRae's voice. I mean, to bring operatic resources to these pieces with the style of singing that then existed and is carried on really in our tradition is, I think, a particular joy for me.
They wrote for real orchestras, they wrote for real choruses, and they wrote for real singers.
Yes,
and
classically trained singing at the heart, the foundation of this kind of singing. So I'm very excited to see this, and I'm thrilled that we're presenting it.